Welcome to In the Gym with Michael Petrella. On today's show, we're going to be talking about powerlifting. Now, powerlifting is the sport of the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. And we're going to be spending time breaking down all three of these lifts, showing how to do them safely and how to do them productively. We're also going to be talking about the rules and regulations for a powerlifting meet. We're going to start with talking about the squat. In a competition for powerlifting, it always goes squat, bench press, and deadlift. So that's the order that we're going to cover them. I got Alfred here. He's a competitive powerlifter, and we're going to go through all the different setups and hopefully get the most out of your squat. So Alfred, I'm going to get you to just come underneath the bar. Now the first thing we're going to talk about is bar placement on the upper back. Now a lot of people, come down a little bit lower, Alfred. Sorry, I want the bar a little bit higher on your back. Your body's going to come down lower. They put the bar across their trap muscles here. Now, this is okay, but in powerlifting, we're looking to move the absolute maximum weight. So we want to increase our leverage on the bar. So I'm going to get Alfred to bring this a little bit further down. And what he's doing, he's actually pulling his shoulder blades together. And this makes almost like a shelf on his upper back. If we could get this bar a foot further down his back, which is not possible, he would be able to lift substantially more weight because this bar is not pushing him forward as much. The next thing we're going to talk about is when you pull the pull the bar out of the rack, getting everything set up. So you're going to pick this up here, Alfred. Step into the power rack. So before you make any sort of descent, you're going to make sure that your chest is up. You want to make this back as strong as possible. You're almost extending this arch with your back. Some people prefer to have their head in a neutral position. Some people, as they come out of the bottom, they like to push their neck back. Either are acceptable. You can play around to see what works best for you. The next thing we're going to talk about is where the athlete is going to set his feet up. Now, Alfred is slightly wider than shoulder width. This is something that you're going to have to experiment with for your body type. Some people, they like to stand with their feet straight under their shoulders. Other people, they come out very, very wide because the goal in the squat, at least in competitive form, is to break parallel. And basically what that means is your hips and your knee are in line and you're coming just a little bit below that. I'm just going to get him to come down 2 or 3 inches. Just come down, Alfred. Now what you're looking for is that the knees are going to come out in the same direction that you point your toes. And when you come up, you're going to keep that tracking exactly the same. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the initiation of the movement. So I'm going to get Alfred to come back under the bar again. Again, he's setting up the bar low on his back, picking it up, strong back, chest up. Now a lot of people, when I see them squat in the gym, the first motion they do is they start to come down, the bar is actually pushing them forward. You are trying to keep your upper body as vertical as possible. Every inch that this bar pushes forward on you is an inch that's harder for you to move back. If you had exceptional leverages for squatting, the lower body would move and the back would stay almost upright the entire time. So the first motion Alfred's going to make is he's going to bring his hips down and he's going to bring them backwards like he's sitting down on a chair. Just right to there, Alfred, and come on up. You can see this back is still staying perfectly flat. He's staying as vertical as he can. Come down one more time, Alfred. The first motion is his butt coming down and come on up. Perfect, Alfred. So what I was saying earlier, in the squat, we're looking to lift the most weight that we can, but we have to go down to a certain depth. In powerlifting competition, that's called parallel. So Alfred, without a bar on his back, is going to come down. Come on down. And parallel is when the knee and the hip are in a straight line. Now most people, we tell them to go an inch or two below parallel, come down just a little bit, just to make sure that the judges see that he is going down far enough and he has control over the weight. If he were to come up about 2 or 3 inches, right here, this would no longer be considered a good lift. His leverages are a lot better here, so he can lift more weight, but this is not considered competitive form. Now we're going to demonstrate some full range repetitions. Alfred, if you could just get under the bar. So we're going to take everything we learned. He's got this low on the back. He's going to step into the rack. His chest's going to be up. He's got an arch in his back. First movement's going to be the hip coming down. He's coming all the way down. Below parallel, come on up. I teach people to train below parallel because it's easier when a competition time comes to get them to come up than if you're always squatting high trying to get them to come down. Again, we're going to do one more here, Alfred. Again, the knee is going to push out right over the toes. That's perfect. One more, Alfred. We'll come all the way down as low as you can. Chest stays up. That's perfect, Alfred. Into the rack. To finish off this segment on squats, I want to talk about safety applications and a few different ways of doing it depending on what your goal is. First, we had Alfred do all the demonstrations in a squat rack. Most people, that is how it's done, but I can't stress enough, safety is always first. If you have someone who's very strong in this movement, we recommend having a spotter behind the athlete and on both sides of the weight. Some people can use extremely heavy weight on this movement. The other thing I want to talk about is the difference between using this as an overall exercise for strength and fitness and also an application for powerlifting. So if you're looking to build up the musculature of the hips and the legs, we normally recommend you use a higher repetition, somewhere in the 8 to 12 range. Doing a set of 20 is a very challenging task. However, with powerlifting, the goal is to demonstrate your absolute 1 rep max. So in general, we're using a heavier weight. A lot of powerlifters work between the 1 rep to 5 rep max range. This is because they have to be strong at demonstrating the lift. There is a difference between building strength and demonstrating strength. As a powerlifter, you have to understand those differences. The next power lift is the bench press. Also a very technical lift when we're talking about powerlifting application. So I'm going to show you a few different ways to set up, and we're also going to show the difference between doing it for general health and then doing it for a powerlifting standpoint. So I'm going to get Alfred to lay down on the bench, and he's just going to grab the bar. So the way I would teach someone who is just looking to learn the bench press just for the sake of doing it, I'd get them to put their feet flat on the ground, and I would get them to keep their back relatively flat to the bench. This is putting the least amount of force on the spine, and having them flat-footed for the most part is very comfortable. Now for powerlifting, we're looking to increase the leverage on the lift. So depending on the federation, you're going to have to check what the rules are. Some allow to be up on your toes. Some are mandatory that you're flat-footed. For the ones that we normally go in, it's up on your toes. So I'm going to get Alfred to come up on his toes. And as you see this, you see he's bringing his abdomen up and he's creating a space between his lower back. Some people greatly exaggerate this arch. We don't normally recommend that, but it is well within the rules. You have to keep your glutes and your shoulders on the bench at all times. I'm going to talk a little bit about hand placement. The rules in powerlifting is that your hands have to be in contact with the rings on the outside. These are on every barbell. I normally start people with their pinky finger just on the outside of the rings, but again, when we're looking to maximize leverage, it is legal within the federation to bring your pointer finger to the edge of the ring, and by extending your grip, by bringing your lower back up, you are going to be able to shorten the stroke. The less distance you have to move this bar, the greater ability you're going to have to lift more and more weight. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the tracking of the bar. Now Alfred, I'm going to get you to grab this bar. You're just going to unrack it. Again, normally you would have a spotter behind you, but we're just using the bar, so Alfred, it's fine here. Now, a lot of people, when they're bench pressing, they make two really big mistakes. Now this is the same whether you're powerlifting or you're just doing it in the gym for yourself. And what they do is let these elbows flare out to the side when they lower the bar. So come on down, keep these elbows out, Alfred. Now in this position, this puts a tremendous amount of strain on the shoulders, and this is why the bench press is known for hurting people's shoulders. Also, Alfred, just instinctively, he has this bar down where it should be, which is low on the chest. You see a lot of people, they bring this up too high. Come up a little bit, Alfred. Again, you can see there's even further rotation in his shoulders and elbows. This is putting him in a very awkward position to push from. I see a lot of people do this. You don't want to get into this because you will eventually hurt your joints. I'm going to get you come back up to the top here, Alfred. Now what I want you to do, first, starting from the top, you're going to grip this bar as hard as you can. The more stable you are, the more force you're going to be able to produce. The second thing you'll notice is that his wrists are in line. You see a lot of people, just bend your wrist back, Alfred. They tend to, he's exaggerated a little bit, but they tend to bend this wrist back. This is putting a tremendous amount of stress on the wrist. And as you're pushing forward, there's going to be energy coming up here. By keeping these straight, you're keeping everything in a much more solid position. Again, in the sport of powerlifting, many people wrap their wrist to give it further stability. Now, when Alfred comes down, he's going to come down to the low part on his chest, just like he did before, but his elbows are going to come in about 45 degrees away from his body. So come on down, Alfred. Now, from this position, with his elbows in, he's going to get far more tricep activation, and you can see he's quite a bit tighter. This is going to give him a much better base to push from. I'm just going to get your push up there, Alfred. Good. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is the tracking of the bar. Now, the way the bar comes down is the way you want the bar to come up. Now, there's two thoughts on how to do this. It's conflicting between who you ask. The first is the bar comes down, you're coming down low to the chest, and as you start to push up nice and slow here, this bar starts to arc towards your chin. Most people find this to be the most comfortable. It's what they call the groove. When you get into the groove, it's safer on your joints and you can lift more weight. Now, the other school of thought is when Alfred comes down, and this is for people who can set a very big arch, they're trying to shorten the range of this bar and they're just pushing straight up and they're trying to lock their arms right about here. Now, even though this is a shorter distance than him moving it over the chin, some people prefer that, some people prefer the other way. What I don't want to happen under any circumstance, we're going to do one more wrong, Alfred, come on down, high on the chest, elbows flared out, and then I see people actually push the bar away from them. You have no strength here, the bar is going to feel much heavier than it is, you have no leverage, just push away from me, Alfred. And you see how, if there's any sort of weight, I got this here, Alfred, it would actually try to pull down onto his stomach. Come back up over the top, and we're going to rack that. So even though the bench press is just a simple movement of coming down to the chest and up, you can see there's quite a bit of variation. And by learning these variations, not only are you going to get the most out of your press, lifting the most amount of weight, but you're also going to be saving your joints. So in a competition for powerlifting, you're going to have 3 judges. In the squat, there's going to be 1 at each side of your legs and 1 in front of you. In the bench press, there's going to be 1 behind, making sure that this bar is touching the chest, and 1 on each side. So where most people fault is when the bar comes down and they're under heavy weight, their hips tend to lift off the bench. If your hips or shoulders break contact with the bench, this is no longer a good lift. Alfred, I'm going to get you to grab this bar one more time. When you see people bench press in the gym, I'm going to get you to do 2 or 3 reps, Alfred, they tend to have a touch and go or even a bounce off the chest. So come on down and just right back up. Now this is perfectly safe. Do 2 more there, Alfred. But this is not good form for a powerlifting meet. This would be considered a no lift. What you have to do is you come on down and you're going to have to pause. When this bar is deemed motionless, the head judge gives you a lift command. You're going to press up, Alfred, and you have to wait for that command. So one thing I will teach young powerlifters out there, what you think you can do in the gym is not the same as what you can do in competition. Make sure that you're spending the time to have this bar come down, wait for a full second, make sure that you can handle that weight motionless on your chest, because you have to wait for that lift command. The third and final lift in powerlifting is the deadlift. Now this lift, in my opinion, has more to do about the brute strength of the athlete, but there are still ways of making sure that you are as technically proficient as you can be at it. So I'm going to get Alfred to step up to the bar. Now there's two different ways that people deadlift. There's conventional deadlift and there's sumo deadlift. We're going to go through both today, but the first one we're going to show you is conventional. So what that means is Alfred's feet are shoulder width apart or just slightly out from that, and his hands are going to come to the outside of his legs. So I'm going to get you to just step down and grab that bar there, Alfred. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want the viewer to be aware of. First, Alfred has his right hand overhand grip and his left hand underhand grip. Powerlifters use this because they feel they can hold on to more weight this way. Now some powerlifters prefer to go double overhand, so I'm going to get you to just move this over this way. Now the advantage to this grip is everything is going to be a little bit more symmetrical. When you're shifting the grip on the one side, there has to be an imbalance between your left and your right. Now Alfred is more comfortable with the split grip, so that's what I'm going to get him to do. So he's going to come down. Now the first thing I want you to do before you lift this bar is to learn to flatten the back, get as straight as possible, and you're also going to try to get this upper body as vertical as possible. Again, the farther this bar is away from Alfred, or the farther that it pitches him forward, the harder it's going to be for him to lift this weight off the ground. So what he's going to do, he's going to lower his hips. He's pulling his elbows back, he's setting this arch. He wants this upper back to be extremely tight before he lifts this weight up. I'm just going to get you to stand up with the bar here, Alfred. Now that's perfect. Now you notice what he did is he kept his posture the entire time. At the top, he's got his chest up. Now he's not overextending his back, but he's standing up nice and tall, chest up, his shoulders are back. This is excellent posture for the deadlift. Now when he comes down, it's the same thing. You're coming down on the exact same angle that it came up, keeping this back nice and straight. Looking at the deadlift from a front point of view, it's very easy to hide a lot of imperfections in the lift. So now we're going to show the same things, but we're going to show it from the side view. So I'm going to get you to come down here, Alfred. Now, as he comes down and he grabs the bar, again, I see a lot of people and this bar is rolling away from their body. You can see how this changes his body positioning. It's going to be a lot harder moving the weight that far in front of him, and there's no safety benefit of doing it that way. So as he rolls this to him and he sits back down, again, you can see he's in a better position. As he pulls these elbows back, he's got his head up, you can see he's keeping this back as flat as he can. He's keeping his hips low. And as he initiates the movement, he's going to have this upper back trying to come up. So you're going to push through the legs, keeping this as flat as you can. Perfect. Come on down, Alfred. Now, what would be an improper lift is if the middle of his back rounds up. Now, I'm going to get Alfred to do one lift, but I don't want you to ever do it this way because it is dangerous. If he picks up from the middle here with a rounded back, and just stand up from there, Alfred, this is putting a tremendous amount of strain on the spine. You will get injured doing this. Come on back down, Alfred. Again, we're going to show one more properly done. The hip is going to come as low as you can. Just grab onto the bar tight. Everything is up, head up, shoulders up. And you're just going to stand up right from there. Perfect. Come on down. So to finish off with the deadlift, we're going to talk about the commands and we're going to talk a little bit more about safety. So when Alfred comes down to do the deadlift, if this weight was a little heavy for him, he might still be able to get it off the ground, but I'm going to get you to come up to about your knees here, Alfred. You see a lot of guys, they get the weight off the ground, and they get to about here, and they're struggling. And what they do is they start hitching the weight. So they start trying to roll it up their legs. Now, even though he has locked out the weight, assuming this was much heavier, this would be considered a no lift. It has to be one continuous smooth pull. Also, in most federations, there's no start command. You can pull when you're ready, but you have to show lockout, and there is a down command. You have to wait for this. If he were to go down before that, even if he locked it out, that would be a no lift. The other thing that we have seen is even though he's locked this out, a lot of people in their training, they drop the bar. If you drop the bar and it leaves your hands, again, even though he locked this weight out, it's considered no lift. I'm just going to get you to put this down, Alfred. So the last thing I want you to take away from this is, one, I want your body to be as tight as possible. If there's any sort of looseness, there's going to be damage done. The tighter you are, you're going to be in a stronger position, you're going to be in a safer position, and again, try to get a spotter or a trainer to watch you from the side. Making sure this back is as straight and arched as possible is going to give you years of pain-free, safe lifting. So we're going to quickly show the sumo deadlift. Now, the only real difference here is the stance. So I'm going to get Valerie to set up. Now in the conventional deadlift, we've seen Alfred going shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider with his stance. Valerie is quite a bit wider than shoulder width apart. Also, her grip is going to come between her legs, whereas Alfred was to the outside. Now, the exact same rules are going to apply. Her hips are low. She's trying to keep her back straight, trying to get vertical as quickly as possible. Just do a couple of this, Valerie. Good. Come on down. Let's get you to do one more. Perfect. Now, the major benefit of doing the sumo deadlift in terms of powerlifting competition is, in general, most people don't have to move the bar nearly as far. The shorter distance we have that bar moving, the easier the lift's going to become. That's it for today's episode of In the Gym with Michael Petrella. If you're looking for a change in your workout, perhaps you're looking for a new sport to take up, or you're an advanced athlete looking for a safe and productive way to train to further your athletic career, I highly recommend the sport of powerlifting. For more information on powerlifting, please visit our website, www.stgstrengthandpower.com.